Good morning, Summer Academy on Monday, July 19th of 2021. How are we?
Good.
Good.
So good morning to Yankel, to Daniel, to Javon, to Jason, to Noah, and Haley. Thank you guys for coming on time. I hope you had a great weekend. Today, what we're going to be working on is the unit rate. Okay. In 7th grade math, when you go there in September, it's called the constant rate of proportionality. So we're going to practice on how we find the unit rate, which is also the constant rate of proportionality, which is y equals kx in the 7th grade math. And then when you go to 8th grade, it's your slope, which is rise over run. All right. So we already had a volunteer to read the learning target and take the photos. All I need you guys to do is to pay attention, because at the end of today's class, just like every day, you will have an independent and an exit ticket, followed by, when you're done with that, completing your iReady of 150 minutes. But before I do that, I want to shout out some folks. I would like to shout out Jexine for 2 hours and 51 minutes of iReady last week. Then Marley did 2 hours 45. Then at my 2-hour mark, I had Branson. Then I had Haley at 1 hour 52. Then I had Yankel at 1 hour 35. I had Casey at 1 hour 31. And then I had Naheidlin at 51 minutes, Noah at 40. And I think Daniel did about 30 minutes. And Jason, you did 40, and Javon did 1 hour 1 minute. All right, that's where we stand. I'm happy to hear that you guys did some iReady. Just make sure if you didn't do your 150, please, it's an easy 100. All right, without further ado, we are going to get the show on the road. So let's do this. All right, let me pull it up. Here it is for today's work. All right, Haley, it is Monday, July 19th of 2021. We are working with standard 6 RP2. So if you'd be kind enough to read me the learning target and these quick words, please, that would be fabulous.
Learning target. I can properly set up a unit rate that is associated with the ratio. I can calculate the unit rate in a fraction form. Lesson notes. Ratio compares two quantities. Example: 6 to 9, 7 .78 2 dots, 7 to 8, or 1 to 5. Related rate is an equivalent ratio that compares the first quantity in a ratio to only one of the second quantity. Unit rate, part of the rate that is being compared to one. Ratios, rates, and unit rates are all comparisons. They compare one quantity to another quantity. Steps on finding the unit rate. 1. Annotate the keywords, numbers, and phrases. 2. Label the units. 3. Substitute the numbers in the correct fraction. 4. Divide to find out how much is 1. Finding the unit rate. 1. Identify which is your total and which is your number of items. Divide the total by the number. Your answer is the unit rate. Martha paid $3 for 4 cans of soda. What is the price per can? And then I show an example. So Martha paid 0.75 per can.
So to find the unit rate, we have to label the units, and then we have to divide the total by the part that we're given. And then from there, we will actually find a unit rate, and that will be in money or whatever it might be. Are there any questions so far? Does anyone have any questions so far? No? Okay, if there's no questions, we're going to proceed to that. So when we're finding the unit rate, guys, we are strictly dividing. We're not, that's it. All we're doing is dividing. Any questions? All right, I got Naheidlin just arrived. Not Naheidlin, sorry, Jackson. Okay. All right, so let's do this. Let's get this show on the road and let's get started. Investigation problem number 1. It says, how are rates, ratios, and unit rates related? So ratios, rates, and unit rates are all comparisons. They compare one quantity to another, as we just said. All rates compare, or all ratios compare 2 quantities. So let's look at this example. Let's have Jason, can you read where it says Yolanda?
Yolanda uses 4 cups of nuts and 2 cups of drift, drifted juice to make trail mix. You can use tape diagram to show this comparison.
All right, so let's look at this. It says here he just read that there are 4 nuts. So each box represents 1. So that's why there's 4 boxes for 4 nuts. And it says dried fruit, there are 2 cups. Each one represents 1. Then it says the ratio is 4:2. So it's really important that when you write a ratio, you write it in order. Order matters in a ratio. We write a ratio the way the problem is asked. Okay. Now, what we have to remember is that every ratio, which is a comparison of 2 quantities, has a rate. And a relative rate is an equivalent ratio that compares your first quantity in the ratio. So let's think about this. This is what we have here. I'm going to show you something. We have 4, which was your nuts, over 2 fruit is equal to, we don't know the top, but we know that the denominator has to be 1. How do we go from 2 to 1, folks? Because we're writing it nuts, which is N, to dried fruit, which is DF. And we're just going to make it, hey, it has Daniel's initials, to DF. How do we go from 2 to 1, guys? What do? Do we multiply or divide?
We divide
By what?
by 2.
Good. So whatever I do to the denominator, I do to the numerator. So 2 divided by 2 gives me 1. So I have to do the same on the numerator. What is 4 divided by 2, folks? Type it in the chat. And then if you know it, feel free to say it.
2.
So 4:2, which is one way to write a ratio, or 4:2, or 4/2 is the same or equivalent as 2/1, which is a relative rate. Got that? So my screenshot person, I think you can, hold on a second. I just want to write something in here real quick for you that this represents 1, 2, it's not letting me write in it. So I'm not sure why. 1 here, 2, I'm just going to write something and then you can take my picture. Okay, and then this represents, we'll use blue, 1, 2, and I'm just going to write here that there are 4 cups of nuts, which is what we spoke about, just like everyone has a visual. And then we said that there are 2 cups of fruit. Okay, so whoever is taking this screenshot, which I think was Haley, please do that for me. Let me know when you're ready, ma'am. You ready? Okay. I need someone to read me problem number 2. Who would like to read this? Noah, can you read this? Model problem 2, think. Every rate has a relative unit rate. Can you read this from think all the way down to reflect for me, please? Noah, are you able to?
Model practice problem number 2. Think. Every rate has a related unit rate. The unit rate is a number in a rate that is being compared to 1. Look at the previous problem. The unit rate of nuts to fruit is 2. Let's look at another example. Marco earned $85 for 10 hours of work. Ratio of dollars to hours, 85 to 10. Rate of dollars to hours. Marco earned 85 in 10 hours. So he earned 85 plus 10 in 1 hour. He earned $8.05 for each hour, or $8.50 per 1 hour. Unit rate. The number part of the rate of $8.50 per hour is $8.50. Marco earned for $8.50 for each hour that he worked.
Okay. So when we look here, when we find the unit rate as Noah read, we are comparing the total amount, which was 85. So we're comparing the money to the number of hours worked. So my units is money to the total number of hours worked. So I would divide 85 by 10, and that is how we got $8.50. Now, what's really important is when you see the word unit rate, okay, you need to know we see these words are associated. Unit rate means one, each, every, per. All those words are associated with unit rate, which means one, each, every, per unit rate, and we are going to divide to find the unit rate. Now, what is the difference between a ratio and its relative rate and a unit rate? So who remembers what a ratio is? What does a ratio do? Look back on the first page of your notes. A ratio, what? Compares what? Let's go back here. Ratio compares how many quantities, guys? It says it right here, number one.
6 to 9, 8 to 4. 7 to 8, and 1 to 5.
Okay, it's comparing two quantities. Thank you, Haley. So ratio compares two quantities. Now, that's the first part. What is a relative rate? Well, let's look about this. A relative rate is an equivalent ratio that compares the first quantity in a ratio to the one of the second. So I'm just going to annotate. If you're going to let me annotate that. I'm not sure. It's not going to let me. Oh, I know why. Okay. So a relative rate is an equal ratio that compares quantities, right? So we're going to write that down. And it says here that every rate has a relative unit rate. So we're going to write that down. Every rate has a, yes, Haley. You have
The
to,
screenshots won't it doesn't let me take screenshots. I don't know why. I took
Okay.
like 2 of them or 3 and it didn't work.
all right, maybe someone else. A unit rate is when you find out how much, I'll help you, how much one item costs. Okay, so let's try this one again. So Haley, maybe if I send them to you on the Google chat, do you think that might work? Okay, so I'm going to do that now. And does anyone have any questions on how we find the unit rate? So while we wait, type in the chat, how do we find the unit rate? What operation do we do? How do we find the unit rate? What operation do we do? I need you just to type in, what operation do we use to find the unit rate? Really, really simple question. And Haley, just check your message now. I'm sending, I don't know if you're able to, but I'm trying to send it to you. Let's see if it works. Did you get them, Haley? Yes? No? Okay, so let's see what people wrote. Okay, well, okay, so we're using division. Okay, let's look at problem number 3. I need a reader. Daniel, would you like to read for me, bud? Number 3, you got this, bud.
How many gallons does each section, like the bottom line, represent?
Okay, so let's look about this. It says a car can travel 300 miles, right, Daniel? Look, I'm going to annotate it in blue for you. 300 miles. Oh, it's not going to let me. So I'm going to have to, I guess, underline it in blue. So we have 300 miles, right? And then it says 10 gallons of gas.
By the way, it works.
So let's look about it. 30 miles is for 1 gallon. 2 gallons is how many miles? If every mile is 30, 2 gallons is how much? How much is 2, guys? Double 30, what do you get? 30 times 2 or 30 plus 30 is?
60.
Good, so 3 gallons is how many miles of gas? You take the unit rate of 30 and multiply it by 3 gallons. What do you get? I see somebody wrote it in the chat. They said 90. What would 4 gallons be? 30 times 4, you can say it out loud. You don't have to just type in the chat to me. Good, Yankel. 120. What about, we did 5 gallons at 150. What would 6 gallons be? Who would like to come off and take a shot at it? What's 3 times 6? Add a 0. We have 30, 60, 90, 120,
180.
Good, easy, right? Just keep adding 30. Or you take the number of gallons times your unit rate of 30 and you get the top number. Okay, what would 7 be? Any takers? 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180. 3 times 7 is?
210.
Good.
1.
Good,
Mm.
Haley. Excellent, you got this. Let's 8 gallons, Haley. 8 times 3, add your 0. Mental math, you got this.
240.
Beautiful. So 240. And last but not least, uh-oh, hold on. I don't know what happened over here. If we have 9 gallons, because they already gave us 10.
That's
9 gallons.
270.
Good, 270. Beautiful job. All right. So now the question reads, what does the 300 and the 10 represent in the diagram? We'll read it right from the word problem. What does the 300 represent? A car can travel 300 what?
Miles and 10 gallons of gas.
Beautiful. See, that wasn't hard. Now let's read this one. How many gallons does each section along the bottom line represent? Look at the bottom. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. How are we counting? By what numbers?
Tens.
Huh?
Tens.
0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
We're
6,
counting by
7.
tens.
We are. So then shouldn't the first number be 10 if we did that?
Oh no.
So think about it. 0 and 1, then 1 to 2. How do we get there? 2 to 3, 3 to 4. Counting by
1.
good. Good. See? All right. It says, look at the corresponding pair of numbers on the bottom and top number lines. Write a multiplication sentence to show how 10 gallons is 300 miles. So what do we do with the 300 and the 10? That's what it's asking. What do we multiply by?
So we multiply by
What's the unit rate? The unit rate was what?
300 miles.
Okay. So they're saying what this is a trick question. What they're saying is that you have to take the 30 miles times the 10 gallons, and that's how you get 300. Do you agree with that, Haley?
Yes.
Okay. Now, use words to describe the relationship between the number of miles and each corresponding number. Well, what happens as the gallons increase? What happens to the miles?
It
It increases or decreases?
increases
By how much?
by
What's that magic number? What's that unit rate?
by 30.
Yes. So how can we write that?
The as the numbers increase, or
Yep. As the miles increase by 30, what happens to the gallons? The gallons increase by what?
by 1.
Good. We did that. What is the rate of miles per gallon of car? Well, we said it was 30 miles is the rate, right? They told you that. And what is the unit rate of miles to gallons? Well, it's 30 miles over 10 over,
Gallons.
over 1 gallon, right? Right? Isn't that what it says? 30 for 1, right? So you guys can take, Haley, did you get my other photos?
Yeah, I posted them.
Okay, great. You want to try to take this one, or you want me to take it and send it to you?
I feel like you should take it because it's not letting me. It just wouldn't show. I tried refreshing.
Okay, I got you. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Thanks.
I got it for you. Of course, I got you. There you go, friend. Okay, let's try number 4. All right. Now, when we're going to go backwards, we're going to find the unit rate. So to find the unit rate, it says you're going to divide. So let's look at this. We're going to call this part. Oh, Marley just came. So we are going to call this part A. All right. A, which is going to be,
Where's your money?
hold on, somebody just came in. If you can just mute yourself, that would be fabulous. Okay, so we're gonna divide now the $7.50 by 3. So what's 750 divided by 3? 7.50 divided by 3, folks. So I'm going to write, this is going to be letter A here. I'm going to call this A. This is going to be part B. We're going to show the work. Oh, wait, no, I don't want to confuse you. Okay, I'm going to call this 1, so it's easier. 2, 3, and 4. So it's a
2.5.
good. So for number 1, oops, what just happened? Okay, so for number 1, what's going on? So for number 1 here, we're going to divide 7.50 divided by 3. And what do we get? Haley said it. 2.50 for every 1 pound. So what letter goes on box A?
C.
How do we go about to do number 2? What do we have to divide?
We have to divide
What are the numbers there? Huh?
3.75 to 5 pounds.
Okay, and when you do divide that,
It's,
go ahead.
it's 0.75.
So she says 0.75 what? Look at the choices,
For every 1 pound.
right? Because the unit rate deals with 1. Therefore, what letter goes in box 2?
A.
Good. Does everyone see what she's doing? Yes? Okay, let's look at 3. What do we do for number 3?
We have to divide $6 to 4 pounds.
So she says divide $6 by 4. And what do we get?
1.5.
1.5. Okay. 1.5 what?
Per 1 pound.
Because per, each, every, all mean 1. Therefore, what does choice 3 get? What letter?
D.
Okay, obviously we know the answer to number 4, but we still got to prove it mathematically, okay? So what do we have to do for number 4, miss?
We have to divide $13.50 to 6 pounds.
And what do we get?
We get 2.25 for each 1 pound.
Good. Uh-oh. 2.25 for each 1 pound. And therefore, what letters should we write here, ma'am?
B.
B as in boy. Does everyone see what we did there? We took the total amount, which was 750 divided by 3, 375 divided by 5, and so on and so forth. Are there any questions? Type yes if you understand this problem right now, please. Type YES if you understand that you have to divide to find the unit rate for problem number 4. We are dividing to find the unit rate. Type YES if you understand, because problem 4 is getting posted now from your peer in your class. Okay. Number 5 and number 6, we have to read this. So when you guys buy food, right, whether you buy anything that you buy, packaged food, things that are made, if you buy candy, if you buy anything. So I'm just going to show you something from my cabinet, just so that you could see, so you know what I'm talking about. So here I have a box of corn mix, and on the back I have these things called nutrition facts. Every single item that you buy lists the carbohydrates, the fat, the calories. It lists the sodium. It lists the cholesterol, lists the sugar, protein. It tells you how much is in a half a serving, how much is in a full serving. It gives you everything. So this is really important that you know how to read this so you know what you're eating. And if you have any allergies or anyone in your family or friends, you read the ingredients and it tells you what is contained in the item that you're buying. That way you can make sure that the people that you're having at your house or at your house, if they have allergies, don't eat it and get sick and have their throat closed, called anaphylactic shock. Now, with that said, this is a very important skill that you have to know how to read nutrition labels. It says analyze, use the information on this nutrition label in front of you to find the unit rate. So it says here that there are 2 crackers, correct? It says that the whole box has 20 servings. That means that's 40 crackers. So for every 2 crackers I eat 50 calories. Does that make sense? So 2 crackers is 50 calories. Because I want to find the unit rate, I need to figure out how many calories are in 1 cracker. What would I do with the 50 and the 2? How would I find the unit rate? So to find the unit rate, we know we have to divide, right? And what we're going to do is we know that we have 2 crackers that equals 50 calories. Let's start there. I want to know how many calories are in 1 cracker. So what am I going to do? Does anyone have any ideas if we have to divide? I can actually show you another way too, a more visual way so you can see. Check this out, watch. Because this is really, really important stuff. You guys need to know this, watch. I'm gonna make a chart here. I'm gonna call this cracker, C, on this side. Maybe I'll make it larger. C for cracker. And then I'm gonna call this calorie, calorie. So we want to know if we eat 1 cracker, how many calories, but we know that if we eat 2 crackers, we have 50 calories. So we know that here we have 50 calories for 2 crackers. How do we go from 2 to 50? What do we multiply by? Think about quarters. What do we
25.
Yeah, so 2 times 25. So I have to multiply by 25 because my unit rate is 25 calories per cracker, as Haley just told you. Do you all see that? So now, right, if I was to divide, to figure this out, I would do calories over crackers. That's how I would find my unit rate. And the numbers I would divide by, as Haley just said, right? Haley just said it would be 50 divided by 2, which is equal to 25 calories per cracker. That means for each cracker. So there are how many calories in a cracker? How many calories are in a cracker? Haley just told you it.
45.
25. Now we're going to do the same thing for the fat. 2 crackers have 15 grams of fat. I want to know 1 cracker. So I'm going to take 15 divided by 2. And what do we arrive at?
15 calories.
Divided by 2 crackers equals how much? Who knows? What's half of 15?
7.5.
Okay, now we have to do one more part now. 1 cracker has a mass of blank grams. So 2 crackers have 14 grams. 2 crackers equal 14. I want to know 1 cracker. How do we go from 2 to 14? How do we go from 2 to 14? So we have 14 grams is equal to 2 crackers. And I want to know how much is 1. So what do I have to do if unit rate says divide? What do I divide in that blue question?
14 and 2.
Yes, what's 14 divided by 2?
7.
7 what?
7 grams.
Per. Yes, awesome. You guys make me happy. Do you all see that? All right, now we're going to find the unit rate of people. So we're going to divide the total by the number of hours worked or whatever they present to you, Haley, right? And the rest of you on here. So Noah, it says Dawn earned $97.50 for 10 hours of work. I want to know how much did she make per hour? So how am I going to figure out Dawn's hourly rate? What am I going to divide for Dawn? I'm going to make a T-chart here. Dawn. What do we know about Dawn? Somebody talk to me. What does it say here in the question? Come on, I'm not the only one.
$97.50 for 10 hours a week.
And we want to know how much does she earn per hour. So how am I going to figure that out for Dawn? So this is what we have. We have the total, which is $97.50. And do we multiply or divide?
We divide
What are we dividing?
97.50 divided by 10.
Which is how much, Haley? How much money does she get per hour? Or somebody, what's 97.50 divided by 10? You all have calculators, you can go Google. How much is it?
It's 9.75.
Now, what does this $9.75 represent for Dawn?
10 hours
What do we just find when we divide? Called the unit what?
rate.
Right? We find the unit rate by dividing. Okay, so now let's look at it and let's do the opposite, the same thing for my friend. What's the other friend? Amy. Let's find Amy's unit rate. How are we go about to do that? What are we going to divide?
120
Good. By
12 hours.
to find her what? What are we finding?
How much they earned per hour.
Good. So what is 120 divided by 12 now? Camera, please. 120 divided by 12.
10
10 what?
10 per hour.
10 what per hour? 10 pennies, 10 what?
10 dollars per hour.
Good. This is her unit rate. Remember, unit rate is all about division. Does anyone have any questions on that? Remember, now you know that when you want to find how many calories you're eating, you're going to divide the serving by, you're going to divide the total calories by the number of servings, which means how many crackers you can eat, to figure out how many calories are in one thing that you're eating. Anyone have any questions on that? Okay, Haley, here comes the next one. All right, we're going to do one more together. All right, this one's pretty simple. Can I have someone read it? Who wants to read it? Marley? How about Marley read it? Haley, you help her out. Marley, can you read this problem number 7 for us where it says a train, please?
A train travels 210 miles in 3 hours, moving at constant speed. Oh God. Find the speed of the train miles per hour.
All right, so what are the two units we are comparing? We're comparing what to what in this question? What are we comparing? I annotated it in green.
We're comparing 210 miles in 3 hours.
Okay, so that is what we're going to divide. We are comparing the miles and the hours. Does everyone see that? For step 1. Okay, this is what we've been doing, but we did it all together. Step number 2. What will we divide?
We'll divide 2, 10, and 3.
Okay, what will we divide by to find the unit rate? So you said that we have to divide 210 miles over 3 hours, correct, Haley?
Yes.
So when we do that, what do we get?
We get 70.
70 what?
70.
What's the numerator?
70 miles.
In how many hours?
3.
Well, is it 3 or 1 when
No,
we're finding it?
1.
Good, because remember, for unit rate, it gets tricky. So for unit rate, folks, right, what we're doing is we are dividing to find out 1, okay? So Haley, it's 70 miles per hour is my unit rate, correct? So that means for every hour, I'm going to go 70 miles. Now, if you look at it in a chart format, like so, I'm going to show you something cool. Okay. Okay, so we're going to call this part, let's see if we can figure this out. Miles, sorry, it's in caps, hours. Everyone follow me? All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to divide this up. We're going to divide it into 3 parts. We'll divide it into 5. Okay, so we know that the denominators have to be 1 here. We know we have to figure out 2. We know that we were given 3 hours and it said how many miles?
70.
In 3 hours?
No, it's 210 miles.
Good. And how much was 1 hour? We just found the unit rate. What was it?
3.
70 miles per hour is what? We just found the unit rate.
It's 3.
Okay, so the unit rate is 70 miles per hour, right, Haley?
Yeah.
So 70 times 1 times 70 is 70. 2 times what? If the unit rate is 70, how do I get this top number? I multiply 2 times what's 70? 2 times 70 is what? We're going to multiply the unit rate, which is 70 times the number of hours.
140.
There you go. So 3 hours we said is 310. You can see we're increasing by 70. How much would 4 hours be? 70 or 70?
280.
Good, 280. And how much would 5 be?
Okay, 305.
Good. So we're using the unit rate, which is 70, hold on, oops, I don't know what's going on over here, which is 70 miles per hour. You got that? Everyone see that? Does that make sense to you all? So the train will travel 70 miles per every 1 hour. Any questions on that? Because we're now going to go do 2 more questions that are going to be just like this on your independent practice and your exit ticket. Okay. So again, everyone type in the chat, how do we find the unit rate? Do we multiply or divide? How do we find the unit rate? That is the dilemma. How do we find the unit rate? I'm going to stop share for a second.
We
Do you multiply or divide? Very simple.
multiply.
Whoop.
No, divide, sorry.
We usually divide to find the unit rate, but sometimes, Taylor, we have to multiply to get a number on a table, right? But to find the unit rate, it's okay.
Because I thought like, oh, I saw them multiplying sometimes and then dividing, so I didn't know what to pick.
Okay, so guys, to find the unit rate, we divide. You have to know that. Somebody type that in the chat. You divide to find the unit rate. Make sure you do your I ready.